Pleasantville.
It's back! Look at me!
We're in Pleasantville?
I put blueberries in them just the way you like.
That's supposed to happen.
Welcome to Screen Recaps, and today we are going to be recapping the movie Pleasantville. David and Jennifer are twins attending the same high school, but are not particularly close. David, socially awkward and with few friends, spends most of his time watching TV, with his favorite show being Pleasantville, a black and white sitcom about the idyllic Parker family. He plans to join a show marathon to win a $1,000 trivia contest. Jennifer, on the other hand, is one of the popular girls, spending much of her time maintaining her appearance to uphold her popularity. One night, Jennifer plans to watch an MTV concert with a popular guy from school while their mom is out of town. However, they end up fighting over the remote control, which breaks, leaving both devastated as their new TV can't operate without it. The doorbell rings, and expecting her date, Jennifer instead finds an old repairman who seems mysteriously timely for their problem. The twins feel suspicious, but the repairman quizzes David on Pleasantville trivia. Impressed by his knowledge, he hands over a vintage-looking remote control before leaving without charge. During their squabble, one of them accidentally presses a button on the remote, transporting them into the Parker family's living room in Pleasantville's black and white world. They try to reason with the repairman through the Parkers' television, but he insists Pleasantville is superior to their real world. With no way out, David and Jennifer are forced to assume the roles of Bud and Mary Sue. In Pleasantville, Manny forces them to finish a hefty breakfast before school. As they navigate the peculiar town, they argue about finding a way back home. Weirdly enough, David knows what to say and how to act in the town because he is an avid fan of the show. A fire truck passes by, but fire does not exist, and firefighters merely save and rescue cats from trees. Mary Sue's love interest, Skip Martin, also happens to pass by, greeting Jennifer. Instantly, all her worries fade away, and she might have found a reason to stay and enjoy Pleasantville. When they get to school, David briefs Jennifer about her friends and introduces them from afar. He reminds her to stay in character and not disrupt the wholesome town. The citizens of Pleasantville are clueless and unaware that anything exists outside their town, as all the streets circle back with no escape. While playing basketball, Skip approaches David to ask if he could take Jennifer out on a date. David tells him that it isn't the right moment yet, as Mary Sue, now played by Jennifer, is not yet herself. Skip is saddened by this and goes about his day. In the school hallway, David persuades Jennifer to go out with Skip, even just once, so the show's original plot remains the same. Back home, Jennifer gets ready for her date while David goes to the soda shop where he works. His boss is Bill Johnson, a friendly middle-aged man who owns the popular diner. Jennifer and Skip enter the diner for their date and continue to get to know each other. She gets bored and asks Skip to take her to the famous spot called Lover's Lane. David knows Jennifer too well and tries to stop them from going, but he fails. Skip and Jennifer continue to have an intimate moment. She introduces him to the ways of making love. Although Skip is confused about the unfamiliar feeling he experiences for the first time, Jennifer assures him it is normal. Worried about the consequences, David rushes home to check if Jennifer has returned. At home, George and Betty comfort David as he seems anxious about his sister's whereabouts. Bill visits him after closing the shop, and while they are conversing, Betty comes over to greet Bill. Both of them seem starstruck as their eyes lock. Meanwhile, Skip drops Jennifer off at home. On the way to his house, Skip sees color for the first time. A red rose. Strange to this feeling, Skip admires the flower from his car. The following day, David enters the gym and finds the whole team gathering. Skip seems to be telling his teammates what happened the night before. David confronts Jennifer, insisting she shouldn't change the ways of Pleasantville or introduce their peers to things from the real world. She disagrees, arguing that the town should know about the things that could make them happy. While David tries to contact the old repairman through the TV, Jennifer continues to charm and influence the town. Gradually, some areas of Pleasantville change from black and white to color, including mundane things and the faces of people who experience new bursts of emotion. Citizens begin to grow suspicious as colors continuously appear around town. One casual afternoon, Betty asks Jennifer what happens at Lover's Lane. Jennifer hesitates, but awkwardly explains the concept of making love. Betty confides that George, their father, would never do something like that, but Jennifer suggests there are other ways to find pleasure. That night in the bathtub, Betty follows Jennifer's advice and sees color. Suddenly, the tree in their front yard bursts into flames. Since fire doesn't exist in Pleasantville, David calls the firefighters, but they have no idea what to do. He takes charge in putting out the fire. As a result, the mayor, Big Bob, awards him a Medal of Bravery. After the ceremony, Margaret, a schoolmate, approaches David and gives him cookies she baked. This is David's first romantic interaction with a girl, even considering his experiences in the real world. At the diner, David arrives for work to find other teenagers waiting for him. They ask how he knew about the fire and other aspects of the outside world. His stories amaze them. He even introduces literature, storytelling the famous novel The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. As he tells the story, the once empty pages of the book begin to fill up. Pleasantville starts changing rapidly. Previously, black and white objects and people begin to develop full and vibrant colors. Only the town fathers remain unchanged, led by Mayor Big Bob, who sees the changes as a threat to Pleasantville's values. David proposes an idea to George about implementing rules by offering him a position on the council. George calls Betty to greet the mayor, but she hides in the kitchen as she starts turning chromatic. David sees her crying and tries to help by applying makeup, turning her black and white again. One day, David brings Bill a book of paintings, sparking a new interest in him. David gathers his courage to ask Margaret out, and she agrees. He feels a sense of belonging in Pleasantville. The repairman berates him for altering the show so much, prompting David to turn off the TV, relinquishing his ability to return to the real world. David drives with Margaret to Lover's Lane, where flowers bloom in color, creating a magical view. Meanwhile, Betty stumbles upon one of Bill's paintings and enters the diner, where they share a romantic moment. Jennifer seems to change drastically, prioritizing her studies and rejecting Skip's invitation to Lover's Lane. That night, rain pours for the first time, shocking the citizens, but eventually bringing them joy. George is disappointed by Betty's absence and organizes an emergency meeting to address the town's issues. The next morning, Bill wakes up beside Betty, and Jennifer discovers she has color. A riot erupts over Bill's controversial painting, leading to arrests and a court appearance. David and Bill deliver a heartfelt message about freedom and equality, causing a shift in the courtroom. Pleasantville becomes colorful, and its main street leads to other towns. Preparing to leave, Jennifer chooses to stay behind as David returns to the real world, saying goodbye to Margaret. Back in Pleasantville, citizens enjoy their colorful life and freedom. George and Betty ponder the future, with Betty realizing Bill is sitting beside her.